Hi guys, so at the time of the recording of this video, it looked like former Labour MP and Workers' Party candidate George Galloway was heading to victory in the Rochdale by-election. George is Scottish if you don't know, but he's been bouncing about England looking to win a seat over the last few decades. Once again, the seat has yet to be confirmed, but it looks likely to go to him. Now, he'll likely cause some commotion when he enters Parliament once again, but it will be short-lived, as the word is of a possible May general election, which would see higher turnout and Labour winning the seat back. But let's get a reminder of what George said back in 2019 as the UK was planning to leave the European Union.
This coming week will decide whether the democratic decision by the British people to leave the European Union is honoured or not. And if it is not, grave political consequences, unforeseen, entirely unforeseen in some cases, political change will occur as a result. And if we do, what matters next is on what basis we do. Now, I'm one of those who has longed for this day, longed for this opportunity, because I see it as an opportunity, not as a problem that has to be managed, not as damage that has to be limited. There's nothing negative about how I approach this coming week and what it can mean for this country and our people. I look forward to a future with hope, where we as an independent country can slip our moorings from a failing collection of some European states.
Failing European states. Okay.
And sail off into and around the world again. I want Britain, post-Brexit, to be what it was in the swinging 60s in London, in Carnaby Street, in the Apple Studios, when we were the cultural capital of the world.
Which is quite ironic, because, of course, I've spoken to musicians who have been complaining about Brexit, who've been condemning Brexit because of the impact it's had on their ability to travel around Europe and tour around Europe. It's interesting also that he mentions the swinging 60s. Well, Britain was the sick man of Europe in the 1960s, and that's one of the reasons why it decided to join the European Economic Community.
When we made ships of steel.
Steel! Wasn't it just a few weeks ago we were talking about Port Talbot, where British Steel has pretty much come to an end, or Tata Steel has decided that it's going to downsize its operations there. So British Steel is no longer British. It's owned by foreign companies, and this is, of course, extremely important that it should be maintained in British hands because it's a strategic element.
When we had a car industry.
The car industry! What happened to the car industry? Wasn't it Patrick Minford, the Brexiteer economist, if there's such a thing, who said that, well, the car industry will have to be sacrificed for Brexit?
A shipbuilding industry, a truck building industry, a van building industry, a motorcycle building industry.
So all of these things were, of course, impacted by Brexit, because if you want to get, well, for example, just in time was pretty much eliminated by Brexit. But of course, if you want to import the raw materials you need to make cars, and you need to rely on producers from outside the European Union or even within the European Union, then, of course, Brexit has made that all the more difficult and more expensive.
Railway workshop industry, when we had a steel industry, when we had a coal industry, when we were something. We were not, as I keep saying, painting our faces blue and living in the forests before we joined the European Union. We were something.
So I think he was tapping into this sort of nostalgia, and it's very similar to the type of language we heard from Nigel Farage. We can be a great nation once again. We were a great nation before we joined the European Union. We can be a great nation like we were before the European Union. This shows a complete lack of understanding of the economic history of the United Kingdom, the reason why it joined the European Economic Community in the first place. And it shows a complete lack of understanding of how industry works, how trade works, how trade deals work. Now, has George Galloway apologised for campaigning for Brexit? He campaigned alongside his friend Nigel Farage. Has he apologised? Of course not. And it seems likely he's going to go into the Houses of Parliament. He's going to go into Westminster, and he's going to cause a bit of trouble, or try to cause a bit of trouble. But his goal is no longer Brexit. He's no longer talking about Brexit. It's going to be about Gaza. And I think this is the reason he won the seat. The others crashed and burned, but it was this one issue that got him over the line. He was the only one talking about it. The other parties were not. And people are angry, and people want something done. And he stepped forward and said, I will do something about Gaza. I will put pressure on the Israeli government. Can he? Of course not. He would just be a single MP. But he is getting a message across. We have to agree with that. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.